Today we will be going over Section 2.8. We will be learning about some relationships between different types of angles, and we will be working more on proving those relationships and making more theorems. First, I want you to start with this sketchpad activity. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay, now we're going to talk about two theorems that we're not going to prove, but that we talked about earlier when we looked at the vocabulary words supplementary and complementary. Remember, supplementary angles are two angles whose measures add up to 180. Those two angles do not have to be adjacent, but the supplement theorem tells us that if they are adjacent and therefore form a linear pair, they must be supplementary. So in this case here, since angle 1 and angle 2 form a straight line, they are automatically supplementary, and I don't need to know about the measures of angle 1 and angle 2 to know that they're supplementary. The same thing happens when we have two angles that are adjacent and form a right angle. Because we know the definition of complementary is that it is two angles whose measures add up to 90, and we know a right angle is 90, the complement theorem tells us that if two angles are adjacent and form a right angle, they are complementary angles. Remember when we talked about properties, reflexive, symmetric, and transitive? We said that those can be properties of equality or congruence, and we looked at congruence with measures of segments. This box shows us that those properties of congruence also work with measures of angles. Now I'm going to have you do another activity about congruent supplements. Please don't do any measurements in the sketchpad investigation. Just use it to help you understand where angles and brays and other things are for the questions down below. Go through this activity and answer these three questions. Okay, now that you've made some conjectures about congruent supplements, I want you to try and prove your conjectures. I have drawn a picture for you and written out what the given and the prove are for this particular proof. I've also written all the statements down below here. What I want you to do is fill out the reasons for each of your statements. Go ahead and do that activity now and be prepared to discuss your reasons in class. Pause the recording and finish this proof now. Alright, we have one more activity. Go ahead and click on this link right here to open up a Word document with the instructions for the activity. Do this activity in Geometry Sketchpad. Go ahead, pause the recording, and go and start this investigation now. Finally, here is a list of some more theorems from this chapter that you need to know. Go ahead and read through those theorems and make sure that you understand all of them. These are theorems that we are not going to prove in class. There are proofs for them since they are theorems, but we will not take the time in class to prove every single theorem. You do need to know these theorems and to be able to use them in other proofs.